Hey, I just forgot about these. Well, welcome back, everyone. And these are my Book of Mormon cards. I make them for playing Magic the Gathering with scriptures taken directly from the Book of Mormon. And this is my attempt to make a Magic the Gathering set for the Book of Mormon. I had this idea on my mission. I hope that maybe if this is kind of like a ridiculous idea, but I thought if it was sold in church bookstores and they got plentiful and the missionaries ever wanted to get them and collect them for fun, the scriptures on them could duel as, and I don't know, they're probably not, I know, but if, who knows, if it ever became a thing, the scripture and if it was very, like let's say you were collecting and you got a whole bunch of the same one and you don't really like that one all that much, you could use it as a pass along card if you're on your mission, or let's say you have a lot of friends like I do who play Magic the Gathering, but they're not interested in the Book of Mormon at all. This is a good bridge for that very specific thing. And when I think about that very specific thing, I think about lifting where I stand. So this is my attempt to do that, where I lift that grand piano where I stand. That's a whole talk on how people were trying to figure out how to lift a piano. And someone in the group just said, why don't we just lift exactly where we're at around the grand piano? And the idea worked. The manpower did the trick. I don't see how that could work in all scenarios, but at least if there's lots of room and you don't have to like trip over anything. But speaking about grand pianos, Nephite showbread table. He is kneeling. This is depicting a Nephite in the land of Nephi, kneeling at an altar that I believe existed inside of the ancient temples of Jerusalem. And I think there's been lots of different research on centralizing that temple, but before that centralization happened, there was actually multiple temples in different places, and within the temple that let's say the narrative heroes of the Bible, of the Old Testament, within their temples, they would have these things called showbread tables. And I'm not even going to try to pretend I know much about it. It has something to do with something. So you'll have to do your own research on that. Um, I just got off work. I had no idea what I was going to do today. It's kind of fun for me to do this, not knowing what card is coming up. But the idea is that if the Nephites were active members of that narrative group of the heroes of the Bible, then they too would. Nephi said he built a temple after Solomon. Let's read the scripture here, actually. And it came to pass that when the angel had spoken these words, he said unto me, Rememberest thou the covenants of the Father unto the house of Israel? I said unto him, Yea. Okay. Alright, so this is in reference that these people are associating themselves with those covenants. And the whole thing about the house of Israel. So there's this theory out there that the Jaredites are the bones seen in Ezekiel. And the weird thing about that is that they say that they're as if they are the entire house of Israel. And I think the scripture goes on to say, will these bones live again? And this house of Israel and the work being done in the temples where we're doing baptismal work for our dead, I think what we're trying to do is say we are created by God and God makes the rules. And when he makes the rules and we keep them, that's this covenant. And when you live under that covenant, you live with God's protection. That's the idea. Everybody sins, everybody falls short. And then you might wonder, well, if everyone sins and everyone falls short, what's the point? I mean, God's going to forgive me anyway, right? Well, there is a point. Let's go on the other side of that. Everybody sins, but also everybody has the potential to keep God's commandments and to make promises with Him. And if you keep His commandments and make promises with God, and you keep those promises, God's going to keep His promises. And we're tying those things into these covenants. That's what these covenants are. The idea of, yeah, let's do a little bit more than the bare bone. Let's make promises with God, and when God does that, they're called covenants. And covenants, in a more definitional term, it's kind of like making a contract with somebody. But when you're doing it with God, it's basically God saying, you want to be righteous, right? And you're like, yeah, I want to be righteous. The good part of you says that. Everybody thinks that they're the hero of their own story. So yeah, you want to be good. You don't want to be the villain. And so God's like, all right, I want you to be good too. Keep these commandments, and I will do this for you. And that's a covenant. So if God says, I'm going to do this for you, like one of the ones I've been thinking about lately is God said He'll fight Israel's battles for them. So there's a lot of stress on a man if something's going bad in his life. And you think, man, I should do this, I should do that, I should do this. But then you think, if God made that covenant, that He will fight for you. So what you have to do is find that peace in Jesus Christ, and then see what that fighting for you looks like. And you can find a little bit of peace there, knowing that, hey, there's some action that needs to be done. This needs to be done. This needs to be done. God's saying, settle down. I will fight for you. Keep my commandments. And that helps out when a lot of things seem like they're out of your control, because they are. So technically, all roads lead to these ideas. All human life will lead to that eventual outcome. It's a stream that you have a choice to make, and if you want to kick it, go upstream, you can. But if the breaking point ever does come, it comes because life is tough, and these covenants with God, people usually try to make their own covenants with God at a breaking point. But you don't have to do that. You can do them sooner than that. So I like making this. It's cool. I'm showing the Nephites. I have a theory that the Norse mythology of Viking lore is related to the Mulekites. And so making this art, it was based off of Nephi using the materials that he had, and his art design is in reminiscence of the Pictish, Celtic, and Norse style artwork. And then there's that big huge loaf of bread. So it says your food tokens. Okay, your food token additionally draw 2 as they are sacrificed. Okay. So in Magic the Gathering, there's something called food tokens. I'll go back to this one. So when this Islander is played, create a food token. So it would be up to you to build out your cards to create food tokens. And if you do create the food tokens and you're sacrificing them, this will give you also a draw 2 ability. That is very, very good. Nephi altar of incense. I won't say as much because it's the same idea. Inside those temples are altars of incense. Again, the design is as the last. When you play a creature, activate target prophecy or prophesy. Okay, so this is allowing you to use your prophesy abilities on your creatures or on a target prophesy. So if you have a card that has prophesy, there's prophecy, there's prophecy. Oh, here we go. This has prophesy. So when you play a creature, you could activate this and get 2 mana out of this. Interesting. Lehi's Tent. 5 mana value, legendary artifact equipment. This is kind of goofy. Equipped creature has band and +1/+1 per band size. That's pretty cool. I forgot to put in here. It's a good thing I'm going back to review this. I forgot to put in here the equip cost. So this this is equipment, and there's no way for you to equip it as of right now, so that has to be fixed. Now all these things were said and done as my father dwelt in a tent in the valley which is called Lemuel. 1 Nephi 16:6. Witness of quakes, 2 colorless, 2 black mana, legendary sorcery. It has prophecy, which activates all prophesy. Players lose life per mana spent until the end of the 3rd turn. This could be interpreted a different way than I originally thought it would be interpreted. So the 3rd turn means the 3rd turn after this is played, but I didn't say that. So this could be interpreted the third turn within the game. So if you're before the 3rd turn and you play this, anyone who taps mana will lose a life until the 3rd turn is over. Weird. Saith the prophet Zenos, and the rocks of the earth must rend, and because of the groaning of the earth, many of the kings of the isles of the sea shall be wrought upon by the Spirit of God to exclaim, the God of nature suffers. 1 Nephi 16:12. Thanks for watching.